This is going to be the advanced version of the phone book, so a little bit more React. Two hooks, we're going to be using useState and useEffect. They want effects. And this one you can add a name, a phone number, and an email, and add the contacts in there. If you try to add it without it, it's going to say, you got blank fields, buddy. We can't have that. And you can also be able to remove the items. It's going to save the items, so if you refresh the page, you don't have to add your new items. So that's kind of cool. So we got all this going on in a React app, and I'm going to explain all the steps of it and how you can make the same thing with not too many lines of code. Actually, the whole thing is almost under 100. Maybe it could have been a bunch of functions here. Very simple functions for the most part, often one line. Not very complicated functions, one line. So you know what? I've been rambling on long enough. Let's get started. Hola class, we are now on to the advanced version of the phone book. This is codesandbox.io, a great place for building your React apps, and start with create. This will be a regular React app, no TypeScript for right now, phone book, and I will call it number 7. I've been at this a while. Okay, I've got the starting code right there, hello code sandbox, and I will get rid of that and place in phone book, and I will get rid of the other text, but at least I've got an H2 ready for me, and it will be contacts. So next I will go ahead and list those contacts. So list.map, left parentheses, and one item, and it will next be a right parentheses, one of them, arrow function, and I won't use the braces right now. I'll just go right into a div tag, and I will end the div tag. And that will get rid of that error, but list is not defined, so I have an error going on there. So let's define list. Import, we're going to be using useState once again, and I type the word useState. I've typed about half of it, I hit return key, and it does the rest for me. And now I will go ahead and build up an example of it, which will be constant, and then 2 items. The first item is the actual list, the name of the item, and then the other one is the set list. So left side is the item, the right side is what controls it, what sets it, what deletes it. Nobody else can talk to list except for setlist. Setlist is the only one, so it's sort of like its agent, and useState. And now I will decide that it's going to be an array, so I get that by the brackets. And I'll go ahead and put a default value in there, so I have something to work with, and the item is going to be a phone number. And the phone number is going to have another object. So I could have just used a string and have the actual value, but I'm going to put another object, and it's going to have the text of the phone number. That's going to have the value. We'll go, 555.5555. There's the first phone number. It's all set up for using. No errors right now. I will go inside of that div item, and I will give it a class name. Class name will be book. My first class name is book. And not defined yet, but I'll get to that. And we'll go ahead and do a list item inside there and undo the list item. So closing bracket, and the value will be the item. So map went through each row of list, created an item, and now I'm going to say the item dot phone. So I'm working down that object tree and then dot text. So you saw there, you had a list, and then the initial one had phone, and then had text. So I accessed it by just going right down there. And that's the first item. So I hit Control S, and it went ahead and formatted everything for me. So this is very convenient, because now if I wanted to say Control paste in place and paste again, I like to paste in place the first time, that way it's nice and easy. And I can say this is no longer a list item, but this is a button. And of course, if you type the word without the bracket, it'll give you the option to format. I'll try to do that, so it provides an example and it makes it easier for me. Next, if you click the button, on click equals, an event handler will happen. So I will do E, arrow function, and I will go ahead and give it the name, removeContact. But what contact do we want to remove? No problem. We want to remove item.phone.text. So we're going to access it by the phone number. And we're going to put some text in the button, which will be, I guess, just an X. Okay, so there you go. You got 2 items in that list. Now, it's going to grow pretty far vertically, and I don't really want that. So I'll do a little bit of CSS right away. Click CSS, and I'll go to the split window. So it splits it over here. I can go ahead and close this one, don't need that. And I'll just use most of my real estate for the primary items, which is my code and my preview, and just a tiny bit for CSS, because I don't need a lot, I just need a tiny bit. Okay, moving on down, I'll define the book class. And the book class is nothing but display flex. So we'll do flexbox for that. It's kind of a jumbled mess there, not a problem. Book. And if you see a list item underneath the book, go ahead and make that the flex 1 by 1 by 25%. Okay, we only got 2 of them right now, so it's going to split it 50-50, but there I go, my phone number, my X. I also see that I've got bullet points. I don't want that. List item style type will go none. Get rid of that. And since I am here, why not just continue a little bit further and give it a background color. I don't know, what's a good, aqua? Yeah, okay, aqua's fine. And some padding. I'll do a lot of it right now. And everything looks good. And one more thing will be, how about border solid, 1 pixel, and we'll give it, I don't know, CCC, not too bright, not too dark. That looks fine for now. I got a phone number and I've got the delete button. If I were to click the delete button, I would probably get an error because I've called something that doesn't exist. And it says, yeah, you called removeContact. It's not defined, James. What you doing here? So, all right, fine, I'll define it. So I can bring a brand new function up here, const, and removeContact. And it will be an arrow function, so it always follows the same format. And what's going to be in this? Well, the goal of this one is simply to remove it. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to rebuild the list, but rebuild it without the current contact phone number, which I sent in. So I sent it in here. Well, I also got to go and grab it. So we'll just call it value. Nice and simple. Value is the phone number to remove. Let's go ahead and remove it. So take our list and use the filter command. Left parentheses, 1 item. Now I'm in an arrow function, and how am I going to get this done? Well, I'm going to say it.phone.text is equal to value. So it's equal to value. Actually, I should say not equal to value, because the new list we're going to build, so we're going to filter it out. As long as you don't equal value, everything is good. And then I would say rebuild that list. The only person that can talk to list is setList. So setList is going to be used. And I would just have to put it in there. I can actually just copy, exit out, and put it right into there. Nice and simple. And save. And let's try it out. It's gone. I can get it back. That's kind of great that it's just 1 line of code, kind of doing 2 things. So sometimes it is a little easier to keep it on separate lines, but here I also kind of nice. I like the fact that it's just kind of right there, very simple. Since we're working on the list at the moment, let's go ahead and add a little bit to it. Before we actually start iterating through the list, why don't we go ahead and do another div. Oh, I said I'd start using that. Div and class name equals book. Okay, what's inside of it? Well, a list item, and, well, actually not a list item this time. Let's use a div tag this time, and there's a reason for that. So, and I have to end the div tag, otherwise I'm going to get an error because things aren't balanced. The div tag, it's going to be the phone, and Control S. There I go. I got 2 different lines, so I can just copy, paste in place, and paste again. And the second one will be remove. So this is actually going on the top. It doesn't look right yet because we haven't defined anything for it. So I already have book defined, .book, and I can say if you have a div tag under book, go ahead and do something. Well, same thing we did before, 1 by 1 by 25%. And now I have it there. And any other formatting? Yeah, I guess font weight will be bold. That's really all I need. Yeah, those 2 things. That's good. So we've got a nice contact list going. However, what about adding? Let's create a section for adding. So another H2 return, and this will be addContact. All right, well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that with the input field. Input value equals, and we're going to have a little bit of a problem because I haven't defined value. All right, for placeholder, there we go. We started off with the value. You can't actually type in it because this is React. There are rules. I'm going to go ahead and use state one more time and create another instance of it. And this is going to be, I like to call it entity, and set entity. I got 2 items there, and use state. And what do I want my defaults to be? All right, well, it's going to be an object. And the first item in that object is going to be the phone number. And as I said, it's not going to just have a value, it's going to have another level down, so another object. And the first thing is going to be text. That can be, I don't know, 888. or 88. And the second one is going to be color. And the default color will just be yellow, so I know we've started off with a default. In the end, this is all going to be, there won't be any default values. And up here, there won't be any default values either. But for now, it's easier to code when you can see examples. Let's go ahead and start using that. Okay, down here in value, instead of nothing, we're going to go ahead and say it's entity and the phone object and the text value of the phone object, which is, as we saw, 88. Can you change it? Nope. It won't let you do anything to it. Not yet. Let's add the second one now. Second value was going to be the background color. I'll just hit return a few times, get a new line, and that would be style equals, go into coding, send style expects an object. So let's go ahead and give it an object, and now we can put our attributes of the style there. It's just background color, background color. You'll notice clip is not color. So background color here, it looks differently than here. So here you can use hyphens because you're in CSS. Here you can't. It does not like hyphens. It thinks it's like minusing something. So that's why we have a different formatting or syntax for that. Anyway, let's give it the background color, which was going to be what we already said. Entity dot phone and dot color. There it is. We've got actual color. Can we change it? Still not yet. We haven't added any sort of handler for changing. Only person that can change entity is setEntity up there, which we're not even using yet. So let's change that. Okay, go in and create another function, constant. We're going to call this addContact. It will be an arrow function, and there it is. Now go ahead and call it, which I'll do first. There's my input field. On change equals event, so add an event handler, which is the E for event, and call it, which would be updateContact. It knows the rest. Let's give it a value. The value will be e.target.value. So that's what you typed in the box, or what's the value in the box. And second one I think is going to be the name of the field we're changing, which is, we've decided is going to be phone. I'm just thinking ahead here because I want this to be flexible enough to handle different types of situations, and that is one of them. So my values I'm going to send in are the value and the field name. Got it? If I change this now, it should be no errors, but also still shouldn't do anything because we haven't used setEntity yet. Let's go ahead and change that now. So it would be, what's the easiest way to do this? There's two ways. I can define the new value first and then stick it into setEntity, or I can try to do it all in one line. For right now, I think I'll do it all in one line. So setEntity. This expects a new value. All right, to do this carefully and thinking ahead, I'm going to go ahead and say, well, it wants an object, so let's put the braces to tell it it's an object, and use the spread operator, ... entity. And that would just say set entity with whatever's in entity, which is, well, everything. So if I use it, still nothing changes, not a problem. But if I use a comma, I can say one of these values is going to change, and the name of that value is phone, but I've sent it in as field. So I want to use field. Now I can see I'm at the field level, which is going to be phone, and it expects an object. So let's go ahead and put the object in. I'll use the spread operator one more time, which would be entity field. Now the reason I did this is if I'm getting a lot of fields in the future, that way I don't have to go ahead and set every single one. Every single one's already being passed in right now, and so nothing would change. Again, it's not going to do anything as I type because I haven't told it to. But it's going to recreate this object or change it to this, which is nothing, so really nothing has changed so far. But let's change that. I can do that with a comma in here. Okay, the new value will be the text field, because I've already set them in phone. I'm down here, so I'm in text now. Actually, I should be looking at this one, not that one. Text, so text and color. Color got sent here, and text got sent here. You want your spread operators on the left side, because if you put them on the right side, anything you do on the left is going to get undone. So you almost always see them on the left. Let's go ahead and change the text field to value. All right, one last thing, you probably saw it already, or maybe you didn't, that if I use field here, it's not going to work. I need to use it inside a brackets there. There we go. Now, if I change this, it actually listens, and it's recreating the entity with this new value. Perfect. I'll do one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to white. The color is now going to be white. there's only 2 values in this entire thing, and I've just overridden both of them. So this technically isn't necessary, but if I leave it in there, then future ones will get changed too. So that protects it. Anyway, start typing, and my color's changed to white. So when you first load the page, the color is going to be yellow, because that was the default. But when you actually start typing, it becomes white. Okay, now I have a value in there that I can actually push down into this list. So let's go ahead and do that next. After the input field, we'll go ahead and say another button, BU, and I see it knows the rest, and it will say addContact. There it is, there's my button. If I pressed it, what would happen? Absolutely nothing, because I didn't tell it to do anything. It's just an empty button. So I will tell it to do something. On click equals, it's an event, so I will add a little arrow function for an event, and I will say addContact. I don't have to send it any values. I don't have to go fetch it from all the fields because entity is a global object. The buttons here now, I should get an error because I've called something that does not exist, has not been defined. So let's define it now. Okay, constant. We're adding another function which would be addContact. There it is. Arrow function. And I've set it up. Now I won't get the error anymore, right? No error, but also it doesn't do anything. I can say, really simply from the very beginning, let's go ahead and set list. So update that list. It's an array, so tell it's an array. And then I'm going to say take the spread operator, list, and then update or add, which if it doesn't see the object, it's just going to add the object. So I'll just say entity. Try it out. Oops, and it also wants to be inside there. It closed it a little too early. Okay, let's try it out. Boom, 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 boom. Pretty cool. And now if you look at that filter item we did earlier, removeContact, it filtered out. So it filters out anything with that same phone number, which is kind of convenient because I can say remove it with this phone number and it removes it all. So 888 and 8888, 888, so everything's working perfectly. Well, what if I've already got that phone number in there? I want the phone number to be used once, not multiple times. So let's make something that prevents you from adding multiple phone numbers that are the same. Okay, we're going to create another function, constant check numbers. That will be an arrow function, and there we go. I'm going to take the list. I'm going to use something we haven't used yet called sum. So sum returns a Boolean value true if some of these things, if one or more are true, or false if none are true. Left parentheses and item and right and arrow function. These almost always follow that same little formatting I've done right there. Although sometimes I would add brackets and sometimes I won't, or braces. Just depends on what I need. And in this case, I need it to check if item.phone.text is equal to entity.phone.text. So if so, we're going to return true. If not, we'll return false. Let's control save. I can test that out by using a console log, but let's just assume it works at the moment. So going back up into the addContact section, I'm going to expand it a little bit, and I'm going to say let errors equal 0. Now I'm going to go to the bottom, the set list, and I'm going to say if errors less than 1, then go ahead and execute this code. Now there are different ways, like most things, different ways to accomplish this job. I like to do it this way because if I ever want to do something with that number of errors, saying you have 3 errors or whatnot, I have that value in there. But it didn't have to be. It could have been a Boolean. It could have been something else. But I'm going to do errors. So right now, it will still add all the context because there are no errors or nothing is causing errors to be anything else. But that's where we're going to change things. So now if I say if, and what do we add that new one? Check numbers. So if it's true, and we got to make sure we call it properly, and then errors ++. Okay, give it a brand new phone number, 99, addContact, right? It adds, try to add it again. It adds it again. And the reason why is I go into check numbers and I did something here, but I didn't actually specifically tell it to return that. So I can either do it 2 ways. I can type return here, the word, or I can get rid of the brackets, in which case it's just going to assume I mean it. Let's just go ahead and do the return, spelled properly. And then try it again. And now it doesn't give once, but not twice. So it checked it. Everything's working perfectly. Yay! All right, and a little bit of cleanup. Let's get rid of all these extras. Yeah, that's more manageable. At this point, I want to let the user know that, hey, this number's been taken. Your code's not broken. You're just trying to use a number that already exists. So let's do that. This is the reason I set that whole color thing going on, because I want to change that color. And to do that, I could go into that whole little error problem here. Errors plus plus. I could say entity.phone.color equals... yes, it's going to not work, I know. I'm just starting out this way. Okay, I've set the list to entity.phone.color, and I tried to change it to red. I can't technically do that because, as we said, you can't change this directly. You have to go through set list or set entity. This is the setter. This is the only one that can talk to that. So in order to have that happen, why don't I do something? I will make a copy of it. Constant, new entity equals an object, and just spread in every single thing that belongs to entity. Now I've got everything in there. I'm not using it yet, but at the very, very, very bottom, whether or not you've got errors or not, I want to say set entity and use the new entity. And if it didn't make any changes, it's not going to refresh the page anyway. It's smarter than that. But this way, if I do make a change, it's going to reflect. Add 1, add 2. Okay, so now I can say new entity phone.color equals FFF. Start off from scratch. 88. Can I add 88? Yes, I can. Can I add it again? No. And it's going to let me know that we've got a problem. We're going to have a problem here. All right, 999 works. 999 another time does not work. Perfect. Everything's going great so far. I'm going to throw in a little styling. No, I shouldn't do it right now. Oh, wait. I have some patience, but it bugs me that these are so awful looking. Now, what if I zeroed it all out and said, now I want to add a contact? No problem. I can add one. What, can I add it again? Nope, because you can't have repeats. But also, how do you have a phone number you can't call? We want to be able to call phone numbers. So I need to say, if you've got a blank, you can't use it. Pretty easy to do. I can just literally do a conditional check. However, let's make it a little more robust. We checked for the phone numbers here. Now let's check for blanks. How do we do that? Well, we're going to use a for loop. A for loop, well, at its simplest form, for some condition and then the loop. Technically, it's not going to let us do that yet because you didn't define anything. So something of something. Well, we can say item of, and then take an object, take the entries of an object and define the object, which is going to be entity. So I want to go through every single thing in entity, although we decided we're going to start using new entity. So let's just be consistent. New entity right there. Okay, this is fine, but it won't let us, well, oops, there we go. Yeah, still doesn't do anything because we didn't tell it to. I'm going to go a little deeper on this entity object. I'm going to go ahead and break this up right away. So constant, we've got two things. We've got the key and the value. So item was going to return that anyway. I decided to deconstruct it right away. Okay, let's go ahead and start adding to this. The conditional check, which would be if the new entity and the key and the text of that key, so the first one would have been phone, so phone.text really is equal to blank, then we're going to do something. So I could console log it to check it or whatever, but I think I know what I want to do. I want to say errors plus plus. So let's try it out. New contact would have been 77. Adding it, perfectly fine. Adding a blank, not perfectly fine. Well, we already have that one roll, so let's make it so that first roll doesn't count. Adding it again, yeah, you can't add a blank. What if it's not a blank? You can add it. So we have two rules now on adding things. Now let's go ahead and enhance this a little bit. If you did try to do that, put a little flag up on that row. Easy enough. So we said errors plus plus. Let's go down one line and say new entity. We're allowed to change this because this is a copy of it. New entity key.color equals, and we'll say yellow, I guess. Make it a different color than the red. Yeah, if you have a blank, it's going to be yellow. Try it out. Yellow. I start typing again. So we said that earlier, that if you start typing on change, wherever that is, or update, yeah, update, set it to there because you have something new going on. Okay, 88, add contact. 88's been used. 88 has not been used, but blank Blank's been used and blanks turns yellow. 2 good rules. Everything's all set now to actually go to the next phase, which will be adding more fields. And we've made this pretty scalable, so I can easily add these new fields and not be locked into too many code changes. So I will go ahead and take everything under input, copy, paste in place, and then paste again. And I'll change the first one, because the first one's now going to be called the name. And it has a few areas, name, and another area, name. Now, the code's not going to like this too much because I never put this into the entity. Well, not a problem. Let's put this into the entity. There it is. There's phone. It's already on its own line, so nice and simple. Copy, paste in place, and paste again. Didn't need a second line, but I'll call this one name. Right there has a default value, so I'll say the default name is going to be Joe. All right, Joe. 88, refresh, get it all clear. So Joe, if I added the contact, it would go there. Where's Joe? Well, Joe hasn't been told to be displayed yet. So go down here, and the first item in there is phone.text. Let's go ahead and change that to name.text. Now, there's a problem because we haven't put name.text in list. So list doesn't recognize that, and it's saying the default one has to have it too. Now, I could just have the default one be an empty array, and that would be okay, but since I did define an object, I have to put it into this object, so not a problem. Name object, and technically it's the same values kind of here, so I'll just go ahead and copy that and put that right there. And the initial one will be Jason, okay? If I hit Control S, my formatting goes to the next line. Error's gone. Jason's there. Add a new contact. Joe's there. Try it again. You can't because I have the same phone number. What if I change that phone number? Now it's fine. Everything's working pretty well. You know what? I'm having so much fun with that. Let's add a third field. All right, next I take this input line and copy, paste in place, and paste again. And Control S, it should take care of the formatting for me. A little more to do. All right, name, phone, email. And change it here too. And change it one more time here. All the rest of the functions are set to handle these multiples, so that's okay. Same issue as before. It doesn't exist in the entity. There's the entity, so not a problem. Copy, paste, paste, and all I have to do is change that value, and that error should be gone. If you try to add it, well, or display it, you would have a problem. Because it's not inside here, not a problem. I'll make it nice and simple. Copy, paste in place, give it a comma for the next one, and then there. And the last one is called email. The default email will be j@j.com. Yeah, very creative. Now if I hit Control S, it says, all right, let's give a line to each one. That makes it easier for copying and pasting to the future, and it's also easier to read. Let's go down to the bottom and say the third one, copy, paste in place, and paste again. Now I've got email.text. Now, if I add a contact, I've got all three. 1, 2, did I say Joe for that? No, I did say Joe as the default. All right, let's say Jill at jack.com. I think I reversed that, but anyway. Let's go ahead and refresh and get a brand new start. Joe, 88, Joe at jack.com. Can't add it again because the phone number is different. You could if you change the phone number. And you can add it to blank, which we've already established, so let's not worry about that. Next! Okay, I want to test to make sure my blank thing is working. Okay, now for the last section, I've made all these things go in here, all these items, and I now see that I've got an uneven number of the top field, the top header row, so let's go ahead and fix that. Pretty simple. Phone, copy, paste in place, paste in place, paste in place. First one I think we decided was name. Perfect. Second one was phone, and third one was email. And that was a very simple fix. All right, next, what if you refresh the page? You're gonna lose all this. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a second hook. I said there'd be two, there'll be two. useEffect, useEffect. And I can go ahead and put it in here. It wants to be before all these extra functions. So you can make it above or below useState, but these types of hooks need to be near the top. So useEffect, it's used a little differently. You just say useEffect, effect, and just like that. Be an error because that's not how you actually do it. You need to fill it out. But I'll explain it. useEffect is sort of like a private investigator, and its one job is to go follow people or things. And we're going to say if anything changes in it, then something is going to happen. So, did I explain that well? Let me go ahead and, first of all, put a function of what happens, arrow function right there. And second is like who you're watching. So I'm going to put list. So it's sometimes helpful having an example. So list is being watched by useEffect, this private eye, and it goes and spies on list and says if list ever changes, technically it's kind of set list is doing the work, but either way, if list changes, if it get updated, deleted, or whatever, go ahead and let me know, and I've got some orders to follow. And the orders go in the first part, that function you created. So this function will be very simple. We're going to just save the list. Local storage dot set item. It needs the name, two values, the name of the item, which we'll call it list. I'll call it zlist, so it's always at the bottom. And the second one is, what are you going to put in there? Well, I'm going to put the list in there, but it's just got to be formatted. JSON dot stringify. What do you want to stringify? List. That's it. That is going to Control S for save. It'll give me the semicolon. That's it. So list has now been saved every time the list changes. So if I added a contact, now I've got the list. If I were to refresh, I would lose list because I didn't actually use it anywhere. Let's go ahead and change that right now. The default for list is up here. And at this point, I'm going to say when you start off with everything, go ahead and start off with no value. It's just an empty array. There you go. And if I added it, it would go into there, but the first one is empty. However, I want to say it's going to be JSON.parse, and what is it going to parse? It's going to parse local storage.get item, not set item this time, and we called it zlist. And if you do have that, go ahead and use it. Otherwise, if you don't have it, then I want you to, does it need one more? Yeah, it does. So if you have it, use it. If you don't have it, don't use it. Zlist and zlist. Let's refresh the page, add a contact, refresh the page. There it is. How about adding it a second time? Add a contact, refresh the page. How about a third time? Refresh the page. It works. I could go on all day, but I won't. Okay, now everything looks pretty cool. I will do a little bit of final formatting. I hate these being so tight. Let's say input field, and we will say padding 8 pixels. Gives us a little more room, and margin between the cells will be 4 pixels. Okay, now I realize you don't even know what these ones are, so let's go ahead and fix that. That will be done with the label. So this stuff, not really advanced at this point, but for just making it look nice, let's go ahead and, what we should do also is get rid of the initial values. So no more of this. Well, I can keep the colors. Colors let me know that you got to start filling things out. Well, nah. It shouldn't be yellow. Yellow suggests there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. So I have to define the objects, but I don't have to put values inside the objects. Now you're probably going to be really lost, so we do need those labels. Let's add the labels. Before the input field, I would say label, and it's going to the HTML4 name. There we go, and the actual label will be called name. I'm going to get an error because I didn't close off that tag. Label, there we go. So you see name is there, and the second one and third one. So I will say, do it nice and simple. Yeah, copy. So I ended that one, paste. And the second one will be, what is it, phone? It's phone. I can copy both of them at this point. Copy, paste. And the third one is, what is it, email? Email. And then I just have to go to the bottom and close off that tag. Okay, name, phone, email. And it looks like I ran out of room because I didn't give it enough real estate. And I could also format this for mobile. There we go, add contact. Okay, fine, button could have a little more room too. For a button tag, give it padding of 4. Made my cells a little bigger, but I can live with that. All right, I think everything looks pretty good. I can check mobile right now by just kind of squeezing it and seeing, all right, okay, some things I don't like about this being there. I would have to fix that, but this isn't really about CSS. This is more about React. A little more H1 tag. I'm going to say that is going to have letter spacing left. Letter spacing of, I don't know, 10 pixels. Yeah. And text transform, 2 of those. Text transform, another one I like. I don't want to make this too much longer because we're not actually learning React at this point. So I'm going to stop there and say this is the code for an advanced phone book. And I will say one thing to think about is that we made this a phone book. What if I actually changed this to shopping list? And I could have had the name of the item or the food, and I could have had the quantity. And I could have gotten rid of this one and just put 2 of them. Or it could even have maybe prices, or there's a lot I can do. This one actually is very close to what a shopping list would be, but I called it Phonebook, but you can see the functionality of React lets you do so many versatile things. And anyway, I hope that helps. Comments are most welcome, and any requests are welcome too. Thanks a lot. Cheers.